Chapter 62, Serafina threw all the medicine bottles in her bag into the trash. She thought she could control herself. On the way to Smith Group, she received a call from the party organizer, asking when it would be convenient to discuss the plan for the engagement ceremony. Both she and Harrison were free on the weekend, so she chose that day. As soon as she hung up the phone, she saw her mother smiling. "When you guys are done, let's go for a walk together. I'll buy you lots of nice clothes and jewelry, okay?" Although she wasn't that close, she still had some anticipation, nodding, "Okay." Arriving at the group, she went upstairs alone to find her younger brother. After passing through security, she followed Lucas to the stock trading room on the 31st floor, only to see the two-story office was very busy. A dozen or so employees on the lower floors sat in front of computers, their fingers flying across the keyboard. Her younger brother stood outside the second-floor hallway, wearing a custom Armani suit, a Bluetooth headset and a small microphone, staring at the big screen without blinking, chattering away like lightning. X3, by 5 million, Clover. F7, by 90 million, Culver. She looked at his mature, resolute and somewhat unfamiliar face, and suddenly felt sorry for him, and asked Lucas, "Clover's stock is on the rise because of Theodore's manipulation?" Lucas nodded, and Mr. Harrison too. Several small companies under the Smith Group are also buying Clover stock. And Mr. Harrison had previously registered a company in the British Virgin Islands. That company was mainly buying. He was halfway through his sentence, when he suddenly nodded politely to the person behind her, turned around and left. She turned around in surprise and was already being hugged by someone, the familiar scent of eau de cologne wafting in the air. Harrison leaned into her ear and whispered, "It's only been a day since we last met." He didn't say anything else, but it was enough to make her heart tremble. She tilted her head and leaned on his chin. "Miss Helga just asked me about the engagement party. I said come over this Saturday to see how the plan is going." "Okay, I remember," he replied softly, rubbing her cheek again. Just then, Theodore came in to get the report. Seeing this scene, he was extremely dissatisfied. "Get a room." She frowned, lifted her leg to kick him, but Harrison held her tight and couldn't move. Theo leisurely grabbed the documents on the table and ran out, not forgetting to turn back and tease her. "TSK TSK TSK, your mother's house is your refuge. Be careful not to offend me." She was both angry and amused. Harrison looked down at her for a long time and asked, "Are you satisfied with Theodore now?" She didn't know why he suddenly asked that, so she nodded, "Yes." "Then you can happily be a screenwriter in the future, and not care about the company or business anymore, okay?" His voice was both gentle and seductive, as if it was hypnotizing. Her heart suddenly calmed down, as if the burden she was carrying on her back was being lifted little by little. She turned her head to glance at her younger brother's serious face outside the window. That's right, she could completely rest assured about him and the Smith Group. As for the Ashford and Kensington families, her younger brother could completely handle it, and Harrison was also helping. What she could do only ended here. The future business battles would be left to them, and the future battles between people were no longer necessary. With them, the Ashford and Kensington families would definitely decline. She didn't need to care about these people who were destined to fail anymore. She should start a new life. Don't care about anything else, just take care of yourself, finally free. She gently curved her lips and smiled, extremely relieved. "Okay." At this moment, her phone rang. It was her mother, saying that her aunt had woken up. She and her younger brother ran home and saw her grandmother and mother sitting on the sofa, while Jane Beaumont was sitting in a wheelchair being helped by Vivian. The moment they met, her and her aunt's eyes were very complicated. Because she had been lying in bed all year round, Jane's face was pale. Even though she had just recovered from a serious illness, Jane was still very elegant. Vivian, who looked exactly like her, stood behind her, was the complete opposite. Her eyes were red, looking extremely weak. "Is this Serafina?" Jane looked at Serafina, her eyes gentle and filled with guilt. Serafina softly said, "You just woke up, is it okay to sit up like this?" Jane shook her head slightly, frowning, filled with regret. "I'm sorry. You've suffered a lot because of me before, right?" Serafina understood what she meant, and comforted her. At that time, you considered me Megan's illegitimate child, I understand that. Jane looked at her intently, smiling painfully, just like Theodore, just like your father too. Serafina pursed her lips, having nothing to say in response. Jane looked at her grandmother, her tone was very slow, but very clear. Mom, I had an accident because I discovered the evil deeds of the Kensington and Ashford families in the past. Winston's father joined the mafia, Mia immediately hooked up with him, took advantage of the loopholes in the national preferential policies at that time to smuggle opium and weapons and ammunition, and became very rich in just a few years. Otherwise, how could Carner have the money to take over the Brown family? It's just a pity that Winston is a coward who is afraid of trouble, so he didn't get involved much. But later on, both families stopped doing it. As soon as her husband was mentioned, she had a look of disdain on her face. He is useless and incompetent in everything he does, but Mia is both talented and brave, and knows how to please others. I was too suspicious before. Whenever I saw a woman I suspected that she was his lover. Because I didn't like Mia, I secretly investigated evidence of her manipulating the stock market. Unexpectedly, the more I investigated, the deeper it got. It's just a pity that I got into a traffic accident, and all the evidence was stolen and destroyed by them, otherwise, I would definitely be able to overthrow them. Without them, who would Megan be able to rely on? She was extremely regretful and frustrated, her pale, thin hands tightly gripping the armrests of the chair. I spent so many years loving her. I didn't expect my niece to be fake, and also an illegitimate child of the Ashford family. She was so angry that she coughed repeatedly and trembled violently. Vivian quickly patted her mother's back. Mom, don't get too excited, just nourish yourself first, you can still find evidence later. Jane breathed heavily, her cheeks red. How can I still find it? I've already startled the grass. Surely those who agreed to testify, agreed to provide evidence have been bribed or silenced. How can I investigate any more? Serafina listened attentively, thinking to herself that if it was Harrison, maybe it would be possible. She was about to suggest when she heard her grandmother bang her stick on the wooden floor. The whole house fell silent. Grandma had recently suffered from high blood pressure. Her expression was not very good. But at this moment, on her old face that had been through many hardships, a look of determination that was hard to define appeared. Let's start the investigation from the beginning. Jane was surprised and happy. Mom, you agree to use your connections? Being bullied like this and still enduring, this house will be swallowed up. Grandma's eyes were filled with an unprecedented cruelty. Her expression was unpredictable, looking at Jane. Wait until you recover. Tell me the information you gathered back then. We will find it one by one. Jane suddenly had tears in her eyes. Mom, have you forgiven me? Serafina was stunned, only now remembering that the mother and daughter had not spoken to each other for more than 10 years. Actually, there were many things. It was not that Grandma did not know, but that she did not want to know. In her youth, she mourned her husband. In middle age, she mourned her son. Her daughter went against her will, making her become pessimistic and negative. When the family was not as expected, it was better to devote all her efforts to her career, treating the tens of thousands of employees of the Smith Group as family. It was safer. This was Grandma's previous thought, but since when did she return? Serafina couldn't help but laugh. It seemed like things at home were getting better and better. Grandma's face darkened. She didn't show anything. She was silent for a moment, then she stood up and left. Before leaving she left a sentence. You're still the same as before. You don't grasp the main point at all. This sentence made Jane, who was over 40 years old, both cry and laugh, wiping her tears like a child. Vivian took a handkerchief to wipe Jane's tears, complaining, Mom, if you get so agitated again next time, I won't let you. Before she could finish speaking, Jane had already tapped Vivian's forehead, her expression also changing. Why did I give birth to a stupid child like you? Who taught you to let yourself suffer by living with others? Vivian was depressed, not saying a word. Serafina quickly mediated. Vivian has already realized her mistake. Now she is busy filming every day, very serious. Vivian glanced at her gratefully. Jane also looked over, praising. I heard you are a famous screenwriter? You are really good. Finished speaking and tapped Vivian's forehead again. You have to learn from Serafina in the future. she is still your younger sister, aren't you ashamed? After speaking, Jane poked her cheek with her finger. Mom, I know. Vivian hugged her mother's arm and acted spoiled, twisting like a donut into Jane's arms. Jane's eyes flashed with laughter, but her face looked troubled. It's starting to stick like gum again. Back off, it's so sticky. Sticky, sticky. Serafina saw Vivian's first real relief in months, and couldn't help but feel happy. With Jane here, she probably wouldn't go astray again. She turned her head and saw her mother looking at them, laughing and joking, her expression filled with pure admiration, like a child looking at a toy she couldn't have. She suddenly felt a pang in her heart, and she went over to put her arm around her, unnaturally saying, Mom, let's go for a walk this weekend, my little brother too. After saying that, she pulled someone who was always dull when leaving the company closer. Is that okay, little brother? Theodore didn't object. No problem. Her mother smiled brightly. Okay. For the next 4 or 5 days, she focused on writing the script. In these short days, a lot of things actually happened. The Clover side discovered that the shares were being acquired, so they chose to issue more shares, but the shares that were just issued were bought again. The shareholder rights were controlled, the investment money was frozen in the hands of others. The economic situation of the Kensington families Carner and Ashford Medical took an unexpected turn. The Martin family suddenly announced that they would clarify this matter. The internal fighting between the 3 families became more intense. Mia even cancelled the engagement between William and Lily, causing everyone to gossip that the two were siblings. Some even dug up the hotel records of the two, saying that they had committed incest. The Kensington family had no choice but to announce the results of the DNA test, announcing that the engagement would continue. Outsiders secretly laughed at the Harpers serving the family together. At the Beaumont household, Grandma and Theodore had begun their investigation. Vivian became more cheerful, Theodore became more and more confident, and Olivia had also started to learn to cook. As for Serafina, no matter how big the storm outside was, she was still very calm. The feeling of letting go of all responsibilities was so light and carefree. The famous director Tom Lionel asked her if she had any good scripts recently. She wanted to write a story about her past life. The original name of the script was Butterfly, only briefly introducing one sentence, beautiful tribulation. Tom was very interested in this topic, and even more interested in the plot of the story. A strong-willed optimistic child born at the bottom of society, after coming to the upper class, she felt insecure because she couldn't adapt, couldn't escape from the conspiracy and power interests, gradually lost herself, and finally lost miserably in the family's power struggle. Perhaps writing about her past, the material was very rich. Serafina only needed 2 days to finish the draft of the script. The plots that needed to be cut or reinforced could be slowly revised. Anyway, there was still plenty of time. On Saturday, she and Harrison went to the company to hold a party. The whole company had prepared more than a dozen plans. He let her choose freely. This is the best party planning company. Every step is perfect. She has nothing more to add. On the contrary, she is convinced by their meticulousness, secretly admiring that the company appointed by his grandfather is indeed not ordinary. When leaving, he looked at his watch, said, "It's still early, let's go shopping together." She linked arms with him, leisurely walking beside him. Of course I'm going. Everyone says that 97% of men become lazy after marriage. I have to take advantage of this time to take you out for a walk as much as possible. Really? He tilted his head to look at her, his beautiful eyes sparkling with laughter. I've never been married, I really have no right to speak up. She glared at him in dissatisfaction. You don't get the main idea at all. He immediately pulled her into his arms, leaning his head on her shoulder. I promise, I'm among the remaining 3%. Whether married or not, whenever you want to do something, I'll do it with you. Who knows what will happen in the future? She pouted, holding back her laughter and pushing his head away. Don't lean on me, it's so heavy. Of course he wouldn't let go. Not only that, he even blew into her ear. She sadly shrank her head and neck, giggling, wanting to get out of his embrace, but he held her waist tightly, determined not to let go. While they were still happily teasing each other, she turned around and saw Lily and Hannah standing in front of a shop, coldly looking at the two of them. She immediately stopped, and he also looked up, his smile fading. He hugged her waist without saying a word and walked straight. As she passed by, she quietly observed the two of them. Hannah seemed to have changed, looking very cold, no longer the arrogant and reckless arrogance of the past. In her eyes looking at Serafina, there was only one emotion, jealousy. It was understandable that she was jealous of Serafina, but Lily also pretended to be jealous and hateful, which made people unable to understand. She was about to get engaged, why would she look at someone else's man? When would she fix this bad habit? Serafina originally planned to go out with her mother the next day, but in the evening she received a call from Director Tom, saying that the scheduled time had changed, hoping that she would finish writing it quickly. In the following days, she even refused to meet Harrison, staying at home wholeheartedly editing and polishing it. This was considered her autobiographical film. Of course she had to consider every word, measure, and recount every detail. After editing for who knows how long, she was finally satisfied, and sent the final draft of Butterfly to Tom. 2 hours later, she received a text message, perfect. She felt as if a burden had been lifted off her shoulders, only now realizing that she really needed sleep, and was also surprised to realize that she hadn't taken any medicine for several days, and her health was no different. Although she felt a little sleepy from time to time, she just needed to pull herself together and she could get through it. Maybe it would be better, she thought, happily sleeping soundly. As soon as she woke up, her mother pulled her hand and led her outside. You said you would come out to play with me, but you made me wait for more than a week, you're so arrogant. She chuckled and got into the car. It's my fault, can I treat you today? No way. Her mother suddenly became serious. I haven't bought anything for you yet, how can I let my daughter spend money? She was touched, smiling. After a moment of silence, she remembered what she had overheard in the past few days and asked, oh right, I heard that your aunt and grandmother have found something? Her mother smiled brightly, started the car. We have found all the witnesses and important evidence, and there are still a few steps to prepare the documents to send to the prosecutor's office. Moreover, many of your grandmother's students are working in the media. This matter is currently making a big fuss online. The Supreme People's Procuracy has already considered prosecuting. Felix's position and Mia's position in Karner have both been suspended. If the charges are confirmed, Karner will be confiscated as state property. She was impressed. Her grandmother and aunt were truly a mother and daughter of one mind, winning every battle. These two strong women had used all their potential in just 2 weeks, stirring up a storm in the business and political worlds. What about the Kensington family? David's grandfather's side isn't going to help. No, her mother said firmly, her face filled with sorrow. Why? Her mother sighed deeply. Harrison found evidence, proving that Mia was directly involved in the terrorist attack that killed 135 people in Xinjiang back then. She nodded. He's really good, whoever he wants to dig out will absolutely not be able to escape. Thinking of this, she suddenly felt warm in her heart, very grateful that he didn't do that to her, but gave her the most private space and freedom. But her mother's face was still gloomy as if she was about to cry. She suddenly realized something was wrong. Just as she wanted to ask, she heard her mother say, because he is the only lucky one to survive. She was suddenly stunned, suddenly being able to connect so many things together. That was also the reason why he lost his parents? Terrorist attacks can turn people's lives into hell. He had been through hell once, no wonder he was as cold as the night sky. Remembering the first time she met him, he was sitting in the dark, his eyes were even blacker than the night sky. Up until now, she had never heard him mention his parents, but she did not expect them to be so miserable and painful. Her heart ached, feeling sad and heartbroken for him. After a long time she sent him a text message, I'm going out today, can you let me eat dinner for free? The reply was very quick, I wish it could be. She let out a breath, then turned to look at her mother. Mom, when everything is over, can our whole family take Grandma and Aunt abroad for a trip? Okay, her mother suddenly became excited like a child. Your father said that every 2 years he would take me abroad. We have almost gone to Europe. Originally we were planning to go to America, but your father suddenly passed away. I have no heart to go alone, I won't go anywhere. This time I can go with my family, how great. She looked at her mother's face, sometimes sympathetic, sometimes excited, and suddenly understood why her legendary smart and agile father married a silly mother like Olivia. She was childish but had no bad intentions, she had never actively harmed anyone. She was irritable but quickly angered and forgot, she didn't scheme or cause trouble, she was easy to coax. She was weak and let people bully her, but she tried her best to defend her family, like Theodore before, like Lily before, like Serafina now. She is stubborn and headstrong but has one heart, let alone acting flirtatious like Megan, she has never even thought about it. Being this naive is actually adorable. She smiled and said nothing. 10 minutes later, looking at the forest outside rapidly retreating behind her, she realized something was wrong and reminded her mother, "Mom, you can be happy, but don't step on the gas. We're going downhill." But she saw that her mother's face was very tense, no longer showing any of the smile from before. "I'm pressing the brakes." Why was the car rushing downhill? She was frightened as she looked at the mountain road disappearing behind the car at the speed of light, sitting up straight by reflex, her whole body stiff. Before she could react, she heard her mother mumble, "Can't accelerate anymore." After she finished speaking, the car suddenly turned to the left, the tires skidded violently, making a piercing screeching sound. She slammed on the car door, and in an instant, the car suddenly spun around, the left side of the car smashed the guardrail, followed the centrifugal force and shot into the forest. Crashed into a dry tree trunk, and then stopped. The whole process took less than 5 seconds, but between the terrible collisions of her body with the car body, she suddenly remembered someone saying that the passenger seat was the most dangerous position. Because when encountering an unexpected situation, the driver would instinctively turn to the side that was favorable to him, only to collide directly in the opposite direction. Lie. The side that hit the guardrail was still her mother's side, and the side that hit the tree trunk was also the same. Serafina did not wear a seat belt, the places where the collision was strong were seriously injured, both legs were stuck tightly in the car body, unable to move. Her whole body was in pain, her ears were ringing. The viscous liquid on her head flowed down and stuck to her eyes, the world was suddenly dyed red. But there was a very clear sound, "Serafina, Serafina." She looked over in confusion and saw her mother's tear-stained face. She raised her hand to wipe her face, her eyes saw a little clearer, but her ears were still ringing. She choked, "Serafina, my good girl, be good, don't close your eyes, I'll save you, okay?" Her body hurt everywhere, she wanted to talk but couldn't open her mouth, she wanted to move but couldn't control herself. Her mother called the police, endured the pain and desperately pushed open the dented car door, pulled out her bleeding legs, and planned to go to the other side to open the car door and pull her out. But at this moment, the tree that had been pushed by the car suddenly swayed and collapsed. Olivia was terrified, she turned around and jumped towards Serafina. The tree fell onto the windshield, the sound of the collision was loud, the sound of broken glass rang out. After the debris flew everywhere, everything became quiet again. The car body was crushed, Serafina's body once again bore the weight. The pain made her regain her senses a little. Her legs felt like they had been cut off by someone, the pain was excruciating, and she saw her mother covering her face, her neck was cut by a piece of windshield. At this moment, the fear in her heart surpassed everything. She was startled, wanting to cover the bleeding cut on her neck, but her 2 hands were stuck between the seat and the car door, no matter how hard she struggled, she still couldn't pull them out. "Ah!" She screamed in despair and pain, and then, the pain came, she collapsed on the seat, unable to feel anything, only her eyes and ears were working. The whole world only had her mother's smiling face and broken voice, "Serafina, be good, don't move around, you're hurt, sit still." She was stuck between the glass and the car's dashboard, looking at Serafina, smiling gently and sadly like never before, "My good child, don't be afraid, someone will come to save you soon." Did God not give me a chance? That's right, I have never raised you, never taught you, never loved you, how do I have the right to buy you a wedding dress? How do I have the right to be your affectionate mother? Blood soaked through her clothes, her voice became smaller and smaller, filled with regret and unwillingness. But in the next life, I will definitely treat you well every minute and every hour. Buy you a doll, buy you a comb, if you have a first love, I will guide you, if you feel sad, I will hug you, if you are hurt, I will protect you. Serafina looked at her mother, tears pouring down like rain. Her mother frowned, took a deep breath with difficulty, finally unable to suppress the despair and sadness in her heart, trembling and crying out loud, "What should I do? If someone bullies you again in the future, what should I do?" Tears streamed down her blood-stained face, her breathing was already weak and fragile. "It's because I didn't keep my promise, I can't be with you anymore. Serafina, forgive me, okay?" Serafina was silent, the gaze in her glass eyes seemed to shatter. She stared at her, as if she wanted to engrave this face into her heart. The mother she worked so hard to get back could now be lost. "Fortunately, Harrison will protect you, Theodore will protect you, I can rest assured. The only good thing I have ever done for you in my life is to give birth to a little brother for you, right? Serafina, my good girl, don't cry, be good." Her mother's hands were covered in blood, gently and weakly wiping away the tears on her face. "Don't close your eyes, everyone will save you." She caressed her daughter's soft and warm cheeks, suddenly feeling an unprecedented happiness. She smiled weakly, "I haven't even had the chance to go shopping with you, I really want to go." Serafina, she gently knelt down, leaving Serafina with the softest and most beautiful smile, "I love you." Serafina watched as she slowly lowered her head, slowly closed her eyes, until the last minute she was silent, but the corner of her bloody lip still had a smile. She opened her eyes wide, tears falling down. "Mother said, Serafina is her good daughter." The world was strangely quiet, only the sound of the wind blowing through the treetops, rustling sounds. Serafina stared at Olivia's face, stubbornly thinking, "Mother is just sleeping." She only felt like her heart was pierced by thousands of arrows, the pain was excruciating, her throat was choked with pain, she wanted to call out mother but as soon as she opened her mouth, blood rushed up, she couldn't bear it anymore. She couldn't bear it anymore, she really couldn't bear it anymore.